It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. We got a great show for y'all today. We have got some fun stories. We've got disastrous stories, and of course, we brought it back the Trump sniffing remix. You know, because y'all love that, so y'all miss that. So it's back in the rotation, and it's somewhat topical. We've got Donald Trump on Fox News. But first, we are again going to talk about new developments in the. I'm not going to say the Atlanta shooting, but the police officer who sort of defended the shooter by saying, "Oh, he's just having a bad day." Fun. We also have Marjorie Taylor Greene railing against the Violence Against Women Act. So we've got that. We're going to talk about that. We got Meghan McCain. Some prior words are going to come back to haunt her. And then we've got MAGA versus vaccines. You know those segments where, what is it? CNN usually. But sometimes it's MSNBC's, whatever. They go to these diners. I don't know where they find these diners. They're just, I'm surprised their diners even exist. Okay, who the hell, who goes to diners anymore? Literally. But then they go, and that there are people in these diners, and of course they're never wearing masks and anything like that. And so yeah, there we go. That's what we're gonna show. But it is both sad and hilarious. And then, of course, we're going to try to talk about Bernie Sanders' new tax proposal on the rich. I love it. So now, before I dive into it, please give us a like and a share. Very helpful if you do that. Much love to those who do. Long Island is filled with diners. You don't say. I don't know. I've seen like one diner in my life, and it was all like broken down on the side of the road. Seriously, like there was a Rosie's diner here. I should say not here, but like I've seen it. I've passed it plenty of times. Nobody goes there. Why? Because it's basically out of business. So I've never seen a diner before, and apparently Apparently, I don't want to. Apparently, a lot of them are filled with conservatives. Diners were fabulous in the 50s and 60s. You should go to one that made the best lemon meringue pie on the planet. But again, nobody goes there anymore. And it wasn't just because of coronavirus. It's just that most people don't go to diners anymore. And that's just, I think it's just a cultural shift. Nothing against going to diners. It's just nobody goes. Unless you're in, apparently, Jersey. Well, I mean, hey, go you, Jersey. Keep it the diner tradition alive, I guess. All right. So let's dive in. Let's start out with some racism against Asian people. All right. Captain Jay Baker, a spokesperson for the Cherokee County, Georgia Sheriff's Office, is not having a good day. In fact, you could say that he's having a bad day. Now, the references, of course, is that in a recent press conference, he characterized another person as having a bad day. This is Robert Aaron Long, who was the Atlanta shooter. And this was a shooting that happened at a series of Asian spas on Tuesday. And he said that person was having, he was just having a very bad day. In fact, you know what? Let me play that for you.
With investigators, they interviewed him this morning, and they got that impression that, yes, he understood the gravity of it, and he was pretty much fed up and kind of at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did.
Remorseful?
I'm not going to go to, I don't know if he was remorseful or not.
All right. Now, a lot of people, after that clip had surfaced, were wondering why this man seemed to identify with Long much more than he did with the victims of the shooting, victims of the killings. It seems, like I said, a rather strange thing to say about someone who actually ended up doing something incredibly horrific. Well, unfortunately, a lot of you were saying, well, he's racist. Well, you were right. This is according to the Daily Beast. Now, they found that Baker has a history of racist anti-Asian content on social media. Shocker. Because of course he does. In fact, in a Facebook page associated with Captain Jay Baker, the Cherokee Sheriff's Office, several photos show the law enforcer was promoting t-shirts with the slogan, COVID-19 imported virus from China, reported Pilar Menendez and William Brederman. Place your order while they last, Baker wrote with a smiley face and another photo that included the racist t-shirts. The photos on Baker's account were first spotted by a Twitter user. Twitter detectives doing the Lord's work out there, let me tell you. So let me show you these images here. Let me show you these photos. So, all right. That was the person that pointed out, hey, this you? I always love that. I love that call out. And that's, of course, his account spreading those racist t-shirts about COVID. Yep, tying it to Asian people and blaming them for, what happened, the coronavirus. So, that appears to be him and appears to be incredibly problematic and actually explains a lot. I hate to say that I'm not surprised, but I'm not. Of course, someone like this is in law enforcement. And of course, he'll empathize with a white shooter over victims if they happen to be a member of another race, in this case, Asian. In fact, according to a report in The Guardian, a lot of Asian people have suffered a lot of hate attacks as a result of the coronavirus. Especially women and older Asian Americans have been targeted in a wave of incidents ranging from first verbal assaults to then brutal attacks. An example of that is back in January, an 84-year-old Asian woman was fatally attacked in the streets of San Francisco. So, we've seen the videos of people yelling racial slurs at Asian Americans. And according to the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum, who conducted a soon-to-be-published survey, they found that about 50% of Chinese American women in the sample, and I'm not sure how big that sample size is. We'll have to look into that when that study comes out. But they took a sample, and they found that a lot of women had experienced racial slurs in public, which rose to about 64% of Korean American women. Well, of course. I mean, this, of course, is a result of fear and ignorance of the coronavirus that has been weaponized by white nationalists in order to discourage encourage discrimination, discourage immigration, and, basically further the political cause of basically making a white ethno state. That's what it is. And unfortunately, this isn't new in America. We've had anti-Asian sentiment throughout various periods of our nation's history. For example, you can go back to direct discrimination against the Chinese in the 1800s, where Chinese laborers that built the railroads were banned from the country. And so, I mean, again, this is an example of something that has always happened in this country, and yet we seem to forget our history a lot. I wonder if conservatives have something to do with that. Weird. But all right. Now, look, what doesn't help at all is the blatant fear-mongering about China. And this comes from both Democrats and Republicans, by the way. Look, I think the government of China, I don't like the government of China. Sorry, tankies. Not a fan, okay? They get a lot of issues. There's a lot of problems, especially what they're doing with the Uyghur Muslim population, or the Uyghur Muslims. But look, the conspiracy theories about COVID are absolutely unhinged. There's no basis in reality for all this stuff. All right. And not only are they unhinged, but they're also actually incredibly dangerous. Again, Chinese people are not coming over to give you the virus. Okay. You're actually much more likely to get COVID from an anti-mask conservative. I'm just saying. Racism is stupid and ignorant. It just is. Okay. It just is. But look, it's likely that race didn't even play a factor into the shooting. And honestly, we don't necessarily know. Again, there were the reports that he was sexually frustrated. Oh, and I'm not saying race didn't play a factor in this. It could be a confluence of many different factors, including racism, including misogyny, including fundamentalist religious beliefs. I don't necessarily know how much each really factors into it. Okay. It could be one of those people who were the incels, or part of the no-fap movement or whatever. But again, for me personally, I don't know if I really care too much about the reason, insofar as I don't know if we can fix this kind of thing or these kind of people. We already know that racists exist. We already know that fundamentalism exists. We already know that incels exist. We should work on, making sure that that we can deprogram these people before they do violence. Okay. We need to stop those ideologies. We need to stop people from falling into those pipelines and becoming violent. But as far as the police officer is concerned, he's got no business being in law enforcement. I'm sorry if that's controversial, but I don't think racist people should be cops. I mean, if he doesn't give a damn about the people that he is supposed to serve, which is supposed to be everybody, black, white, Asian, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you hold racist views, then you're not fit for that job. I realize that that's going to cause, a lot of people to not be police officers. I realize that. And you know what? That's good, because we shouldn't have racist police. You can't serve those communities. And if you're a racist, and if you are, you need to find another job. Simple as that. All right, moving on. Let's go to the violence against women. If we don't like the government of China much, that's fine. It's very different from the people that reside there. I mean, surely you don't want to be judged according to what America does. Lady Dragon, absolutely 100%. That right there is the pure unvarnished truth. Excellent statement. Excellent statement. You can criticize the Chinese government. I do criticize. You can also criticize the Israeli government. And I see them as kind of like, they're not the same, obviously, but there's parallels to the criticism, right? So now if you, for example, on the right and on, the Democratic Party, if you criticize Israel, well, you're anti-Semitic. But wait, we're just criticizing the Israeli government that is incredibly right-wing and has done terrible things to Palestinians. That's not at all anti-Semitic. That's actually going with the, left on the side of left-wing Jewish people who want actual peace in the area. because that peace is better for everyone in that area, Palestinians and Israelis alike. And so that's a different. You can hate on the government, but love the people. True. Yes. See, you all get this. You all absolutely understand, and I love it. Based. All right. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to the Violence Against Women Act. Let me just set up my...
With investigators, they interviewed him this morning, and they got that impression that, yes.
Wrong video. All right. Now let's do it. CMC said today that racist violence against Asian Americans in New York is up by 2,000%. That I'm not surprised at all. And it's disastrous. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I don't know where you found the stat, but it's Sam Cedar, so he's pretty smart. Smart guy. I believe him. And I'll look up the stat myself, but I believe him. I just want to see where he got it, because I knew it was up a lot, but wow, that's a horrifying stat. All right. Republicans have once again proven how horrible they are by refusing to vote for the formerly uncontroversial Violence Against Women Act. So now this was put forward by House Democrats, and about 172 House Republicans voted against its renewal. Now that's just 24 hours after 8 people, including 7 women, 6 of Asian descent, were killed in a shooting spree at a series of Atlanta spas. Now this is important and has sort of, a relation to it, because the shooter allegedly had a sex addiction. At least that's what they're saying. But again, this piece of legislation goes far beyond just something like this, anything related to that. Now, the legislation itself passed 244 to 172, with 29 Republicans joining Democrats to support the bill. No Democrats voted against it. Again, not supposed to be controversial, but yet it seems to be when it comes to Republicans. Now the bill is heading to the Senate, and so hey, you know what? That whole violence against women thing, yeah, Republicans said we're fine with violence against women, because how dare you try to protect trans people? Of course. And by the way, this legislation is actually one of the good things Joe Biden did in his past. There's a lot of stuff that he did that was not good. This was not one of them. This was actually pretty good. And again, it was uncontroversial. And then Democrats said, hey, we want to expand it. We want to protect, all women and girls. And so we're going to add some stuff into it. Okay. And now these Republicans under Mitch McConnell refused to reauthorize this starting back in 2019, actually. Because again, it allowed protections of trans women and stopped abusive boyfriends from owning firearms. Now, the measures in this would close the so-called boyfriend loophole. Now, the closure of the loophole would extend a ban on abusers being allowed to own or buy a firearm. Used to be, like in the bill that we had that was not controversial up until 2019, abusive husbands were not able to own or, they were banned from getting firearms. But they wanted to expand it again to allow, non-husbands, just boyfriends, people living, maybe, common law marriages, not necessarily legal, but, nonetheless, people with guns in the home. Now, the Republicans, they decided, no, we'll let that loophole stand. We prevented the passage of it, and we will do so again. Now, who voted against it? Well, look, let's see. Do I have an issue with that? Hold. All right. So now, let me give you a list of some of the Republicans that voted against this. You got Lauren Boebert, shocker, Mo Brooks, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm going to get to her in a minute, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, and many, many others. A lot of men, but also a lot of Republican women. which again is a very interesting choice, but I guess they're fine with women getting murdered by their boyfriends and trans people not having any sort of rights. In fact, here, let me go to Marjorie Taylor Greene arguing against this in Congress. Take a look.
Violence Against Women's Act. This is something that should protect women. Unfortunately, the Violence Against Women Act has expanded its protection beyond women and girls into transgender or biological males who are calling them women. You see, Democrats know this is a bad policy and agenda. In order to pass it, they have to hide behind real abused women. The Violence Against Women's Act also allows prisoners to pick their gender and be treated and assigned by their specific preference. This isn't fair to women who are in prison. Democrats also refuse to support amendments to help women receive firearms safety training and self-defense courses to protect them against their abusers. Republicans have introduced amendments having to do with gun rights. If you want to help protect women, make sure women are gun owners and know how to use a gun properly in order to protect themselves. That's the greatest defense for women.
Yes, defense for a woman who's a victim of violence is to pick up a gun. Yes, of course. So instead of blocking an abusive boyfriend from getting his hands on a weapon, causing damage, they want women to buy guns so that these couples can have shootouts in their homes. More guns! More guns! That'll solve the problem, yes. And here's the thing, before you go crazy, your head explodes, I'm not against gun ownership. I'm not even against using guns for protection. But even I can see that this is a cynical move to get women to buy more guns and increase profits for gun manufacturers that lobby and fund Republican politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, I know, right? It's not about personal defense. It's not about stopping violence against women. It's not even about protecting gun rights. It's about selling more guns. That's really all it is. It's deeply gross. Yet Greene and other Republicans do not support this bill, but also they don't support the Equal Rights Amendment or the Equality Act that aims to amend existing federal civil rights laws to protect people based on sexuality and gender identity. You heard her in that video. In fact, she went further by tweeting this. Again, Democrats want to violate girls' and women's rights by destroying God's creation, male and female, putting biological men in women's prisons. So, okay, on that thought, okay, men just want to claim to be transgender so they can get in the women's prisons. You know what I'm saying? Wait, no, why would you want to do that? What? Women's prison's still prison. It's not like it's any less prison-y than male prison. What? Okay, right, sure. But then says abuse shelters and extending them rights does not help biological women and girls who have been through hell. Yeah, you know who's also been through hell? Trans women. Explicitly or especially black trans women who often are beaten, killed, raped, assaulted at incredibly, dangerously high rates. So you want to talk about women going through hell? I mean, seriously. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene does not want to treat trans women as actual human beings. I mean, that's horrifying. She added one more thing. Make no mistake. Democrats want to create an authoritarian woke state where neighbors, partners, citizens, and employers are afraid to do anything in order to avoid the draconian policies imposed under the guise of protecting women. I don't even know where to start with that. That's just pure cringe. Conspiracy theory nuttery. And of course, it fits neatly into the culture war bullshit. And no, you know who wants to actually stop the rights of women? The far right, right? They're the people, and you can go on YouTube, you can go on right-wing forums, and you can see all these people that are like, oh yeah, I just want women to stay at home as tradwives, and be nothing but incubators for my babies. Stay home, make me sandwich and cook, and clean like God intended. Yeah, okay. God didn't intend your wife to basically be your mother, and that's what they want. Barefoot and pregnant. Yeah, and again, that doesn't come from the left. That comes from the far right. And then she also said the Equal Rights Amendment was designed to bring about abortion on demand up until birth and perhaps after birth. That it's not even an abortion, you psycho. Wow. There's no such thing as post-birth abortions. You can't abort a baby after you've already given birth. Literal murder. That's what that is. Oof. And late-term abortions are actually incredibly rare and only legal in the case of where the fetus is already either deceased or if giving birth, the act of giving birth, endangers both the life of the mother, the fetus, or both. So I'm sorry, but that's not a thing. And neither is abortion on demand. Why do conservatives always believe that abortions are just like going to Starbucks or going through like the drive-thru at McDonald's? Yeah, I'll take an abortion and some and a large fry, please. No, that's not what happens. It's not 5 minutes in and out and a free muffin. Okay, this is it is a delicate process. And by the way, Republicans have been working their asses off in order to try to make that process even longer so they do miss these windows, closing Planned Parenthoods and abortion sites, as well as instituting, these mandated waiting periods so that, women will miss the window that it's actually still legal to have an abortion. They have chipped away at this right for women to control their own bodies. And they will sit there and want to talk about the authoritarian woke state? F off. F off. Not a thing. And again, Taylor Greene, she is the loudest one of these people, okay? And the reason that she's got such a platform now to spout these ridiculous, horrible ideas is because she is a woman. The right wing loves nothing more than to tokenize a woman and to go and have her go out and say these horrible things against women's rights. They love it. They absolutely love it. Even though what they would also really love is for her to get her ass back in the kitchen. This is who they are. They don't give a damn about women. Total hypocrisy. All right. Move on. Oh, we're just blasting right through these today. I think we can all agree that Meghan McCain is pretty awful. I mean, she says a lot of cringe stuff. Sometimes, occasionally, she does get it. Most of the time, she does not. So now, she did pretend to be aghast at what Donald Trump has said a lot on The View, mainly because I think that Trump went after her father, the late John McCain. Generally, I think Meghan McCain tends to agree with Donald Trump, especially when it comes to policies, but would occasionally come out and say, oh, Trump's rhetoric is so bad, it's so bad. Okay, well, now one reason, or I should say one example, is her actually doing the opposite, where she defended Donald Trump's use of the phrase China virus. Now, there was a recent mass shooting in Atlanta that left 8 dead. A majority of them happened to be Asian women. Now, McCain, on Twitter, she decided to tweet out support for the victims. So now let's take a look at that. Okay. Hey, stop Asian hate. All right. Hey, look at that. Well, now what's the problem then, you ask? I mean, perfectly benign statement. Actually a good statement. Her heart breaks for the people who were killed. Why am I criticizing her? Especially when tweeting out support is good. Well, again, the problem here is that she helped contribute to the climate of hatred against Asian Americans. And this is fascinating because this happened exactly 1 year ago, where she defended Trump's use of the word phrase China virus to describe COVID-19, which many, of course, saw as a slur against Asian people and has led to an increase in attacks, physical attacks, and as well as, using racial slurs against Asian Americans. And not only that, but there's also, if you go to the Federalist, there's a category for reports on the coronavirus labeled the China virus. Anyway, so now let me go to that video. Again, this was 1 year ago today where she defended that. Take a look.
About how we don't want to politicize this, which we shouldn't. Right now it's a time to listen to doctors, look at information, look at facts, look at data. I think by calling it the Chinese virus, that's politicizing it by title. So I think we need to stay on calling it what it is. It's the coronavirus or COVID-19 and stay with fact.
People, as we've seen, people start punching people, Asian folks out.
Yes.
They, will attack. So we need to stop calling it or labeling it like they did it to us. Mother Nature really did this to us.
Part of the problem is in December, there were a bunch of Chinese doctors that were sounding the alarm on this virus, and the Chinese government, or, lack of the government, was trying to suppress them, and they were trying to give out warning. I agree with you that I think if the left wants to focus on PC labeling this virus, it is a great way to get Trump reelected. I don't have a problem with people calling it whatever they want. It's a deadly virus that did originate in Wuhan. I don't have a problem with it.
Hey, I don't have a problem with it. Why are people suddenly beating up Asian and shooting Asian people? I don't understand. Either she is so dumb, and that's certainly a good possibility, that she's just that dumb to not realize that the two might have some sort of connection, or I don't know. I keep defaulting to stupid. Maybe I'm wrong. But wow. Yeah. So yeah, she kind of helped in the demonization of Chinese people by not pushing back against that. And honestly, the reason why you should push against that, why everybody should push against that, it's not to let the Chinese government off the hook for whatever crimes they may have done or whatever times they may have covered up the times where they dropped the ball on the virus, right? Okay. It's not because of that. It's because of these low inflow right wingers that are not able to tell ethnic Koreans from Chinese nationals and go and shoot them all or attack them or just, go and attack any Asian person. Well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. That's why you need to call it out and be like, hey, they're Asian people. It doesn't mean that they're here to hurt you. They're not here to give you the virus. Stop being stupid. Stop being an asshole. Put on your mask and go about your day and let people live their lives. And that's all. It's just, it's frustrating. And again, you had all these politicians on the right that were saying, oh, China virus, Wu flu. It's not even a flu, by the way. God. And when you say those things, you make it seem that, whether you realized it or not in the case of Meghan McCain, that it is Asian people's faults for the virus existing, and that's not at all true. It's not. It's a virus. Could have originated anywhere on the planet. Imagine if it had, originated right here, okay? And by the way, based on how poorly our government did with the virus here, there's no doubt it would have been our fault if the virus spread around the world. But even if it hadn't, even if we had a, good government response and still the virus got out to the world, well, I mean, you'd expect the rest of the world to call it the America virus. You wouldn't like it, would you? That, Americans living in other countries being attacked as a result of the America virus. Hey, I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't care. America virus. Seriously. It's okay to criticize the Chinese government. It is not okay to go after Asian people or Chinese people. Okay? It's just not. It's not. And here's the thing, right? We've actually dropped the ball And by the way, yeah, the Spanish flu did originate in the United States, by the way, so it's already happened. And yet it's not called the American flu. It's called the Spanish flu for some reason. Weird. Weird how that works out. But yeah. But look, our response to this virus has been terrible. And in order to put the blame off on someone else, Trump and the right wing pointed every finger at the Chinese government, which again has had its issues and I believe did mishandle the virus at first. Okay. But again, the United States, we're number one, baby. We're number one. Okay. And instead of, pointing the fingers at the anti-maskers and the Trump administration who did play down the virus, much worse than what the Chinese did, Trump put all the blame on China and by extension, Asian people. And so now you wonder, oh, well, how come there's so many crimes against Asian people? I don't understand. It's because of the naming. It's because of the rhetoric. Because of the blame. It's indefensible. Okay. And so, yeah, not a lot of people are going to believe Meghan McCain when she says, oh, I stand against Asian hate. Well, maybe you shouldn't have fed into the monster. And maybe, again, you don't seem to understand how words and rhetoric work and how they can actually lead to violent actions. Well, maybe I wish this would be a wake-up call for her so that she could actually understand that with a big platform, a great platform, comes great responsibility for watching what the fuck you say. Until she can start to understand that, well, she can just go F off. I'm not interested. Okay. I'm going to take a break. Real quick here. We'll be back. We've got vaccines, some anti-vaxxers. They're going to tell you, or CNN, why they're against vaccinations. Stay right here, around the nation.
You're full of shit! I will eat your ass!
Wet ass P-word.
Everybody, welcome back to the show. Oh, that Ben Shapiro clip. It cheers me up. How uncomfortable he is. All right, anyway. We're back. So let me read some super chats, actually. And thanks some donors. Let's see. Thank you for all that, Danko Bango, by the way. Phelan Schwarzentraub says, as somebody who's left an abusive relationship, PTSD, the last thing I need was a gun. All that's going to do is up suicide rates. Yeah. I'm kind of against giving people with who are undergoing current mental issues or stresses in their life, handing them a weapon. Yeah, I know the saying, well, people who are suicidal, they're going to be suicidal. You can't really stop them, right? Yeah, but it's a lot easier to use a gun and a lot more final. I mean, yeah, a lot of times suicide happens to be like of the moment, right? And then a lot of times in a lot of cases, if it's a failed suicide, they're like, oh man, I'm so glad that didn't work. Well, the gun happens to be a lot more final. And so, guns not in the hands of the people, those people might actually save lives. So I'm in favor of saving lives. All right. So anyway, thank you for that, by the way. The Glass Sword says, hey, if they don't want us Asians around, then no more General So, anime, and video games. Taking those back and keep your Taco Tuesdays. Oh, wait. No. Don't go anywhere. America loves you. We do. All right. Steamy Trickle Down. Thank you, No Man's Jam. Appreciate that. All right. Let me see if there's anything going on here on Twitch. A lot of good Twitch comments, by the way. Thank you, Lizzie Napon, for becoming a follower. Much appreciated. Appreciate the follow. Let's see. There was a couple of here. There's a good comment here. A lot of support too. So thank you for that. All right, let's move on. Let's go to a random diner. Shall we? You know you love it. All right. It appears that some Trump supporters are turning their back on the former president following his endorsement of the vaccine. In fact, just recently on Fox News, Maria Bartiromo show, Donald Trump wholeheartedly endorsed the vaccine. In fact, let's take a look.
Would you recommend to our audience that they get the vaccine then?
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree with that also. But it's a great vaccine, it's a safe vaccine, and it's something that works. And we've been working round the clock, and what I got the FDA to do, this would have happened in many years from now if I didn't get involved and if we didn't get involved.
The vaccines, it's a tremendous vaccine. It's a great vaccine. You should get it. I got it back in January and didn't tell anybody. But the vaccine is great. It's tremendous. You should get it. Look, I know. I'll take it, even though he's like, oh, look what I did. Oh, look at it. Wouldn't happen without me. This whole vaccine thing. I'm just saying. You left the Biden administration without any stockpile. What is wrong with you? But okay, fine. You know what? That's the best we're gonna get out of former President Donald Trump, and I will take it. I'll take it because you know what? I have really low expectations. That said, that endorsement was a long time coming. He and Melania, as I said, were vaccinated back in January and pretty much before everyone else. But again, that's a Trump thing. When he got sick, he got an experimental cocktail of drugs that nobody else had access to because he was sicker than he let on. And in fact, there were reports where at one point Trump, he needed to be put on oxygen. So it's very dangerous, right? But here's the thing. He didn't tell anybody because he wanted to keep his tough guy image. All right. Or maybe based on what I'm seeing now, and because hindsight's 2020 and all, maybe he thought that it wouldn't make a difference. Now that sounds odd, but I'm going to show you why that theory might have a little bit of merit.
Does anybody in this restaurant think it's a good idea to take the vaccine? No. Raise your hand if you think it's a good idea. Anyone here, is it a good idea to take the vaccine? Raise your hand if you think it's a good idea. Not one person here thinks it's a good idea? Complete quiet. What do you think about the vaccine? Are you going to take the vaccine?
No, sir.
Tell me why.
Well, I don't trust the government, and I don't trust Biden.
Just don't want to.
Well, why don't you want to? If you don't mind me asking.
Because when I take the flu shot, I usually get the flu, so.
Why are you not flu?
They just started rolling them out.
Well, yeah, but this has been a worldwide effort by great doctors.
Claim that the flu can be cured, but still hundreds of thousands of people die from the flu.
Well, yes, a lot of people die from the flu, but not nearly as much as COVID. This is a horrible pandemic, and this is like an amazing vaccine. These vaccines have come out, they're saving lives. I don't believe it.
No. I will just agree to disagree on this subject, I guess.
I'm just not going to take it.
What if President Trump came out and was very robust and said, take the vaccine? I took it even though I didn't tell anybody about it. It was kind of done secretly, but I think you should take it. He said it a little bit, but he hasn't been robust about it. If he was robust and said, take it, would you?
No.
Trump's a liberal New Yorker. Why would we listen to him either?
What? Wow. Oof. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Really? We had a cure for the flu? That's what they were saying? No, we don't have a cure for the flu. We have a vaccine. Vaccines aren't cures. They just make it so you can actually, your body is able to identify it and fight it more effectively. And that's how you can say you don't get quite as sick. Yes, you can get sick from a flu shot because that's introducing a weakened strain of the flu in the body in order to get an immune response. That's how it works. And that's not even how this works. These vaccines of coronavirus are actually based on mRNA. And I'm not going to go through and explain how it is, how that exactly works. But in this case, you're not even introducing a live coronavirus into the body. It still is just teaching your immune system how to identify and fight it. Oh, God. I mean, there's so much irony here. For one, these are the same people, again, they won't get the vaccine, but I can guarantee a lot of them probably lined up to get hydroxychloroquine. I'm just saying. Or other supposed miracle cures that I've seen and that I've reported and been demonetized for reporting about, by the way. This charlatan selling silver. And I was like, no, don't take it. Don't take it. That's bad. It will literally kill you. But hey, I'm pretty sure some of them went for that. But they decide, no, let's not get the vaccine. And while these same people were clamoring for freedom, open up the country, open up the country. We got to open it up. We need our freedom. We don't want to wear masks anymore. Okay, well, you don't want to wear a mask. Then here's what you do. You get everybody you know vaccinated and yourself. Wait a while to make sure that everybody is vaccinated because they still say the CDC still recommends that you wear masks, but you can start to return to life anyway. And once we do all that, or even had we had a proper lockdown, which we didn't. No, we didn't actually have a lockdown. Not really. Had we worn masks and waited for the vaccine to become widely available, the Trump administration could have done so much better in actually pushing and making sure that we had a lot more of the vaccine. Not only could we have opened up, but maybe we could have done so without losing over 500,000 Americans to the coronavirus. These people are terminally stupid. Jesus. And look, before you get on that, right? I know that some people have adverse reactions to vaccines. That's why the majority of us should take them to develop herd immunity to make sure those who have adverse reactions are still protected. That's what herd immunity does. It allows the people who are too weak or compromised to not have to take the vaccine, and we can still deal with the virus. Okay, that's how it works. But again, as far as the testing of the vaccines, we do test them. I have a friend who was in one such vaccine study. They do test them, and they ended up being safe and effective. And it's weird how it's like, I don't trust Biden. Well, this was developed under the Trump administration, funded by the Trump administration. And by the way, whoever's in power at the time, they're not like, it's not like Biden's in the lab mixing things. He's like, okay, I'm going to add these chemicals and I'm going to do this. I can't do a good Biden voice. I need to work on that. Yeah, I'm gonna add this chemical and I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna get these conservatives. I'm gonna get these Republicans, and we're finally gonna do the I don't know, New World. I don't know. Conspiracy theories. So many conspiracy theories. But anyway, they do test them. And here's the thing. They've been shown to be, again, safe. In fact, there was a recent story that came out yesterday. There's a woman that took a Moderna vaccine, and she took it while pregnant. Now, that was a big concern, right? Hey, how is this going to affect people who are pregnant? How's it going to affect the baby? Is there going to be like problems with, people giving birth or things like that? Well, we might have an answer to that. There was that woman who took the Moderna vaccine. She recently gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Oh, look at that. Now, they found that she had COVID-19 antibodies in her system. Now, this was findings that were presented by Dr. Paul Giblert, Dr. Chad Rudnick. And this is in a preprint study, so it hasn't been peer-reviewed yet. So, of course, yes, we can celebrate, but not only that, but, we should probably wait for the peer review to come in. But it looks promising. They found that the antibodies were detected at the time of delivery after analyzing blood from the baby's umbilical cord, taken immediately after birth and before the placenta delivery. In the findings peer review, that means not only is the vaccine safe for expecting mothers, babies might have some protection against the virus if their mother is vaccinated. If this turns out, well, that's welcome news. There are other studies, by the way, as well, that are shared in preprint, not peer-reviewed yet. It's very important. In fact, Massachusetts General recently studied 131 women, 84 pregnant, 31 breastfeeding, and 16 non-pregnant, who all received the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. They found equally strong immune responses in the pregnant and lactating women as the control group. Additionally, antibodies were present in the placenta and breast milk of every sample taken. And so, all right, there it is. That's positive news. And again, if peer review, holds on this and we do more study, well, then that's incredibly positive news. Wonderful, wonderful. And there it is. So don't be like these people. Get your vaccines, be smart, follow the science, and be healthy. All right. Moving on. Last story of the day. Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders is out with a new bill to raise taxes on big corporations. Now, this is not a surprise, but it's also welcome. Now, under the Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act, the corporate tax rate would increase by about 0.5% for companies reporting a CEO to median worker pay ratio of about 50 to 1, and grow to a rate of 5% for those companies reporting a ratio of 500 to 1 or higher, according to a summary of the proposal released by Sanders' office. The bill also requires the Treasury Department to issue regulations to prevent tax avoidance, including against companies that increase the use of contractors rather than employees. So one, of course, common criticism was, well, if you raise taxes on companies, they're just going to contract out. Nope. Not under this bill. Now, pay ratio data for privately held corporations would also be made public, just as publicly held corporations are required to make public under current law. So these would be significant changes. And of course, I think there would be positive changes. In 2018, the average CEO to median worker pay was about 278 to 1. And actually, it's gotten even worse from there. It's actually about 320 times now as of recently. Now, is that CEO working 320 times harder than you? I don't think so. I don't see how such a thing would even be possible. I mean, think about this, right? You got a construction worker who's busting his ass. And then you got a CEO that is sitting in the air-conditioned building taking meetings all day. Who's working harder? I don't think he's working 320 times harder. I'm sorry. But more disastrous numbers here. Now, CEO compensation itself has risen by about 1,167%. This is between the years of 1978 to 2019. That is not all that long. To rise by over 1,100%. Wow. Meanwhile, how did you do as a worker? Well, you did see your compensation rise by about 13.7%. Yeah, look at that. 1,167% versus 13.7. Who's doing better here? Who's doing better? Yeah. Now, there's more. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the reasons that they're getting paid more is not because they work harder. It's not because they're smarter or better at all at their job. No. The report notes that CEO compensation appears to reflect not greater productivity of executives, but the power of CEOs to extract concessions from the board. Consequently, if CEOs earn less or taxed more, there would be no adverse impact on the economy's output or on unemployment. So, no negative change. And that's why I like this proposal. For one, it doesn't actually target CEO paychecks because there's a lot of executives who can get by that by taking a lot of their pay in stock options, right? That's not taxed by like normal income. You also have dividends, you have capital gains. So to get around that and bring employee pay back into line, just increase taxes on the company more unless they raise pay. It's a simple solution of incentives versus punishments. And I'm sure they'll try to find tricky ways to get around it as well. They always do. But look, it's pretty simple, though, how it works. You can either keep paying your CEO an exorbitant amount of money to not be any more productive at all or vital, and then pay a tax on top of it, or you can pay your workers more and therefore help the economy by having happy, productive workers who can afford to buy your products. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's how it's supposed to work. Now, Sanders, on introducing this, said, quote, "At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, the American people are demanding that large, profitable corporations pay their fair share of taxes and treat their employees with the dignity and respect they deserve." That is what this legislation will begin to do. Obviously, beginning is one important thing because there's actually a lot of other stuff that needs to be done. We need labor rights in this country. Right now, we have a massively low, incredibly low labor participation force that's in unions, right? That participates in unionization. That is bad. Not good at all. Not good at all. And so, yes, that is definitely one way we could extract concessions is by unionizing more. And of course, unfortunately, you have companies that know this and push back incredibly hard against unions. Even talking about unions will get people fired. And so there does need to be protections. The PRO Act is one good piece of legislation that is currently making its way through Congress. That needs to pass. We need to start protecting labor. Now, as far as this is concerned, according to Sanders' office, the new legislation would bring the federal government around $150 billion in revenue over a decade if the current corporate pay patterns continue. They noted that in the bill that if it had been in effect last year, Walmart would have paid about $854.9 million more in taxes. Home Depot would have paid up to $550.8 million more in taxes. JP Morgan Chase would have paid $172.8 million more. Nike would have paid $147 million. McDonald's would have paid $69 million. Nice. American Airlines would have paid up to $22.6 million in taxes, and on and on. So you have a lot of these really wealthy corporations, and getting them to pay their taxes would help reduce income inequality in this country. And getting them to pay workers more would also help. So now, how likely is this to get passed? There's a lot of work, but it's catching on. One person that's in favor of it is Elizabeth Warren. I know, snake, hiss, hiss, right? She seems to be coming back to her senses a little bit after becoming a total snake in the primary, so that's good to see. Corporate executives have padded their pockets with hefty paychecks and over-the-top compensation packages, she said, while American workers who help generate record corporate profits have hardly seen their wages budge. So she's signing on to support this. She said, we need to take dramatic steps to address wealth inequality in this country, and discouraging massive executive payouts is a good place to start. Good. Representative Barbara Lee also on board in favor. She's a co-sponsor of companion legislation in the House. She said on Wednesday that it is unjust and unacceptable for decades, billions of dollars have gone to those at the top, while workers' wages, especially for workers of color, have remained stagnant. As millions of families struggle to keep food on the table during a global pandemic and economic crisis, it's more important than ever that we close the CEO-worker pay gap, ensure that companies pay their workers the wages they deserve. I'm proud to partner with Senator Sanders to reintroduce the Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act to make ultra-wealthy CEOs pay their fair share. Absolutely. Now, again, has to go through the House, has to go through the Senate. That's going to be a problem with Mitch McConnell, the filibuster, and even some Democrats, of course. But look, Bernie Sanders needs to continue to hammer these bills home, to reintroduce them every time, and that's what he's been doing. It does show that he continues to keep up the fight. And here's the thing. With the coronavirus, I think a lot of things have begun to change as far as people being, open to government spending, especially when it comes to changing things in the workplace, giving aid to the American people, and of course, making the rich pay their fair share. There is a lot more, I think, appetite for the American people to do that, especially when they've seen companies like Amazon, while they're suffering, people are suffering without paychecks, and relying on, unemployment benefits and government stimulus checks. Amazon made $13 billion in profits. And so a lot of people are going to look at that because they have time and go, well, that's not right. We need to tax the rich and, reduce this gigantic level of income inequality. And so I hope we continue to see that and not get distracted by, for example, the right-wing culture wars that are currently going on Fox News. And keep our eye on the ball and making sure that people, have, get what they deserve from government, essentially, to make sure that everybody has a fair and equitable chance at being able to succeed, get fair pay, get fair benefits, and, be able to take care of their families. That's all we've ever really wanted to do. All right. Only way we can demand anything is through a general strike. We need labor power. We're not going to have we're not going to have a general strike without labor. We need labor. That's the thing that we have to build first. We've got to build up labor. And unfortunately, we don't have that. All right. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss take up my entire day. If you watch Fox News, no. They're also talking about
wet ass P word.
They're obsessed. They're obsessed with WAP and the Grammys. Obsessed. All right. Anyway, So that's it. That's all I got for y'all. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. Helps us out a lot. Thank you. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll organize, fight, and, never stop.
You're full of shit! Every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true.
There's some whores in this house.
Please squat.
Give me a break.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.